Okay, so that really big question, do I have enough to retire? I think it's something that probably crosses everyone's mind, maybe keeps you up at night sometimes.
For sure. It's a huge work.
And it's so much more than just the numbers, isn't it? It's about, the life you actually want to live down the road.
Exactly. What does that life look like?
So today we're doing a deep dive into this really helpful guide we found from Wealth Tender. It's called Do I Have Enough to Retire? A Guide to Assessing Your Retirement Savings.
Sounds like exactly what people need.
Yeah. And our goal here is really just to pull out the key steps, the main ideas from the article, give you a clear starting point to think about your own retirement readiness, without getting totally bogged down in all the details right away.
That's smart. It's a question that honestly feels daunting for a lot of folks. And what I liked about this guide is how it pushes you right away to think beyond just a dollar amount.
Right, to the lifestyle.
Yeah, the lifestyle you're actually aiming for.
Exactly. The guide kicks off with a kind of a powerful question. What do I really want? And it makes the point that your retirement goals, well, they aren't set in stone. They can change.
That's true.
It made me think how easy it is to just focus on, like, saving, 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 without really picturing what you're saving for.
That's such a key insight. And the guide really encourages you to uh, use your imagination a bit, to dare to dream, as they put it.
Yeah, dare to dream. I like that.
Yeah. Think about, okay, what's an ideal day look like in retirement, or a week, or a month? Thinking about family, travel, hobbies, things you want to do.
Right.
And it even talks about like big goals versus smaller ones.
Yeah, I liked that distinction. The example they gave, visiting all 50 states versus maybe just tackling 5 new ones each year.
Right. Makes it feel more manageable, less overwhelming.
Definitely. So, okay, you've got this vision, this dream. What's the next sort of practical step the guide lays out?
Well, it flows pretty naturally into estimating your expenses, your annual retirement expenses.
Okay, back to the numbers.
Back to the numbers, yeah. This is where you move from the dreaming to the doing, sort of. The guide really stresses being realistic here.
Realistic is key, I bet.
Totally. And it suggests breaking down your spending. You've got your essentials, housing, food, healthcare.
Non-negotiables.
Exactly. And then your non-essentials,
Yeah.
vacations, hobbies, the fun stuff.
That makes sense. Breaking it down like that helps you see what you need versus what you maybe want.
Precisely. And the guide has a needs suggestion. Maybe talk to friends who are retired. Get some ballpark ideas from their experiences.
Oh, that's a good tip.
Yeah. And obviously, if you're planning to retire where you live now, you've already got a pretty good handle on a lot of those basic costs.
True. You know your utility bills, your property taxes, roughly.
Exactly. But, and this is important, the guide also throws in a big caution. Don't underestimate.
Easy to do, probably.
Very easy. And it brings up inflation right away. That slow creep that just eats away at your buying power over time.
Right. Especially, it seems, with healthcare. That always feels like it goes up faster.
It often does, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Healthcare costs are a major factor to consider long-term. The guide does mention, there are online tools and apps you can use to get a rough estimate for inflation adjustments.
Okay, good. So tools are out there.
Yeah. So we've pictured the life.
Mm.
We've estimated the costs. Now we need to figure out where the money's going to come from.
Right.
The income side.
Right. The income stream.
Exactly. And the guide really emphasizes having diverse income streams, not just relying on your savings pile.
Okay, so what kinds of streams are we talking about?
Well, first off, investment income. That's, withdrawals from your IRAs.
Your 401k.
Your 401, yeah, any taxable accounts you have. But it also reminds you about the risk involved, right? Investing always has risk.
Sure.
And you need a strategy that fits your situation, especially in retirement. It's different than when you're building wealth.
Makes sense. Your risk tolerance changes. What else?
Then there's Social Security, a big one for many people. The guide points out that nice feature, the annual inflation adjustment.
Oh, yeah, the CLA. That's huge.
It really is. And it also stresses how important it is to think carefully about when you start taking those benefits. That decision can make a big difference in your total payout.
Yeah, that timing question is critical. Delaying can really boost the monthly amount.
It absolutely can. Next up, pensions. Now, maybe fewer people have traditional pensions these days.
True. Not as common anymore.
But for those who do, there's still a really significant asset. The guide talks about, maximizing those payouts and making sure they work together with your other income.
Okay.
It even mentions that for some people, Social Security plus a pension might actually cover most of their basic needs.
Wow, that would be a good
A
foundation.
very solid foundation. Then annuities get a mention.
Ah, annuities. I always think of those as like insurance against running out of money.
That's basically what they are. Insurance against longevity risk, outliving your savings. But, as the guide points out, there's often a trade-off.
Okay. Like what?
Well, potentially higher fees, maybe lower returns compared to other investments. So you get peace of mind, but maybe at a cost. It's a balance.
Right. Security versus potential growth. Got
Yeah.
it.
Then the guide covers rental income. Maybe from a rental property you own.
Or even like a vacation home you rent out sometimes, Airbnb, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Even that. But it does acknowledge, managing property takes work, or you have to pay someone to manage it.
Yeah, it's not totally passive income, is it? There's hassle involved.
Not always, no. But it can be a valuable income source if it's managed well.
I know a few people looking into that. Okay, what else? Is that it for income?
One more the guide touches on, part-time work.
Ah, working in retirement.
Yeah. But it frames it interestingly, not just as something you have to do for money, but something that might actually be good for you.
How so?
Well, keeps your mind sharp, keeps you active, connected, good for the spirit,
Yeah.
Could be consulting, coaching, teaching,
Yeah,
something you enjoy.
that's a nice way to look at it. Less of a chore, more of a choice that has multiple benefits.
Exactly. So once you've got a handle on all these potential income sources,
Mm.
the next step is bringing it all together, making a real plan.
Okay, pulling it all together. This sounds like where it gets complex. The guide mentions things like safe withdrawal rates, like the 4% rule people talk about.
Yeah, it touches on that. The 4% rule is a common guideline, basically suggesting you might be able to withdraw about 4% of your savings the first year, adjust for inflation after that, and have a good chance of the money lasting 30 years.
But it's just a guideline, right? Not foolproof.
Absolutely. Just a guideline. It has assumptions, limitations. It really depends on your specific situation, how long you need the money to last, how markets perform, all that.
Okay.
And the guide really highlights how interconnected everything is. When you take Social Security, how you manage taxes, planning your estate, it's all linked.
Like pulling one string affects the whole thing?
That's a perfect analogy they use, yeah, like pulling a shoelace. So you make a decision over here, it impacts things over there. There's no single right answer for everyone.
Makes sense. So ultimately, it boils down to income minus expenses?
Pretty much at its core, do you have more coming in than going out based on your projections? If yes, great sign. If not, well, then you need to look at making some adjustments.
Either spend less or find more income, basically.
Right, but the guide doesn't just stop at the plan. It also makes sure you think about the risks, the things that could throw a wrench in the works.
Ah, yes. The scary stuff. What kind of risks are we talking about?
Well, the big one is longevity risk, just, living longer than you expected and your money running out.
Yeah, that's a real concern.
Then there's healthcare costs, long-term care. Those could be huge unknowns. Market volatility, recessions, downturns, hitting your investments.
Oh, right when you need the money.
Exactly. Inflation, which we mentioned. Even changes in tax laws. The guide mentions the Secure Act, Secure 2.0. Those change the rules for retirement accounts. And sequence of returns risk.
Sequence of returns, what's that exactly?
That's basically the risk of bad investment returns happening right at the beginning of your retirement. Big losses early on can really damage your portfolio's ability to last.
Oof. Okay, yeah, listing them all out does sound a bit intimidating.
It can, yeah. But the guide's point is that these risks can be managed. You can plan for them. It's about awareness.
So understanding the potential problems helps you build strategies to deal with them.
Precisely. Like for sequence risk, maybe you hold more cash initially or have a more conservative investment mix when you first retire. There are ways to navigate it.
Okay. And the guide points towards resources to help figure all this out.
It does. Mentions things like financial planning software, online calculators.
Yeah.
It's from wealth tenders, so naturally it suggests that working with a financial planner can be really beneficial.
Makes sense. Getting personalized advice for your specific situation probably provides some peace of mind, too.
Absolutely. Having a professional guide you through these complexities can make a huge difference.
Yeah.
And the guide wraps up nicely by reminding us, the money part is critical, but it's only one piece of the retirement puzzle.
Right. Back to the lifestyle, the what do I really want part.
Exactly. And it emphasizes that even small changes, small steps, can make a difference. And it's never too late to start planning.
That's encouraging.
Yeah, and I really like a quote they included near the end. The best decisions come from wise counsel, accurate numbers, and a healthy understanding of what's most important to you in life.
Oh, Oh, that's good. That really sums it up, doesn't it?
It really does. It brings together the practical number side with the personal values side.
It's not just about hitting a number. It's about funding the life you actually want. And the final message is pretty clear. You got to take action.
Yep. You can create the right retirement plan, but you have to get started. Simple as that.
Okay, so to recap quickly, think about the lifestyle you want, estimate the costs realistically, figure out all your potential income sources, and definitely consider the risks involved.
That's the core of it. And hopefully this deep dive into the Wealth Tender Guide gives you a really solid framework, a starting point for your own planning.
Definitely feels like a good roadmap.
Yeah.
So thinking about that vision, that ideal retirement day we talked about earlier, here's something for you to mull over. What's one small, actionable step you could take, maybe even this week, to get just a tiny bit closer to making that vision a reality?